Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new Doctor Who video. And well, I had to come back. I know I have not done very many Doctor Who videos recently, but after the Giggle, after the Bigeneration, after all the chaos, I felt we've got to come back and talk about probably one of the most controversial Doctor Who episodes ever, I would say. So yeah, we kind of knew this was happening for months. It leaked, I don't know, 9 months ago or something like that. It's kind of been floating around. Everybody's been like, should I believe it? Should I not? Is this really true? But it all was. The whole leak was true. I saw a bit of it and then tried to mostly avoid it. I was aware of the idea of bi-regeneration from that leak, but I still wasn't sure exactly what it meant, what it led to, all of that. And I chose not to try to look further because I didn't want to know everything that was going to happen. But ultimately, it was all true. The whole leak was true, everything about it. And we have Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor at the end of a fantastic episode, but we also have David Tennant still as the Doctor, sort of, confusingly. So I'm going to try and unravel it as much as I understand it, and then we can discuss whether it's a good thing or not. So I should probably briefly touch on the kind of bulk of the episode itself, the whole Toymaker storyline and all of that. And I think, for me, this is comfortably the best special of the three. I did really enjoy Wild Blue Yonder, easy for me to say, last week. But I think this took it to another level. Just the whole, especially that first half, the whole storyline of the Toymaker and the craziness of it, and the whole idea of the Toymaker kind of being out of the normal realm of reality, and so he could kind of do anything. And when you end up in his domain, anything can happen. And just seeing the Doctor and Donna going around all the sort of weird domain of the Toymaker, I just thought all of that was so brilliant and creepy and crazy. And just the kind of wacky, no rules stuff that we get in Doctor Who that I just absolutely love. Like when you just throw out everything. When you've got Neil Patrick Harris dancing around the unit base with the unit soldiers shooting rose petals out of their guns, and it's just absolute nuts. All of it's completely bonkers. And I thought that whole storyline, the whole part of it was really clever. It was a great idea, and I think it works really effectively in the story. It's just so much fun. It's so exciting. It's so thrilling. It's sort of always quite hard to create a sort of threat that feels so kind of unbeatable, in a sense. We've obviously had great villains like the Master and the Daleks and whatever in the past, but the sort of level of the Toymaker, that he's kind of out of this universe and out of the rules of the real universe, so that he can do anything, control anything, and it's all just about playing a game with people and playing the game with the Doctor. I think that whole idea is just crazy, and I feel like Russell really utilises it to such a great extent. It is, of course, fantastic to see Mel, Bonnie Langford, back in this story, seeing her kind of, she's just there, she's just a part of UNIT now. I think that's a really great way to do it. We obviously saw at the end of Power of the Doctor the companion club, and kind of Kate implying that she was going to hire some of them. It's really cool that kind of idea that Chris Chibnall came up with, Russell's just immediately kind of run with and thought, that's a great idea, I love it, let's just do it, let's just bring back some companions. And so we have Mel in this episode. She is just a normal member of UNIT, really, but it's so great to see her meeting the Doctor again, hearing her sort of backstory of how she's ended up on Earth. I know it's a little bit kind of waved away to an extent with a little joke, but it's still great to see her. And the fact that we have Bonnie Langford watching David Tennant regenerate into Ncuti Gatwa is just crazy. It's having Mel there for that moment, I think, is brilliant. And you kind of forget how actually great a character, great an actress she is. And I think, we always knew she was underutilized back in the 80s. And so to see her again, and we know she's turning up in a season 1, if we're going to call it that, as well, which is really exciting. So we know we've got lots more of her to come, which is just, I think, brilliantly exciting. And just the whole new establishing of UNIT, I think, is fantastic in this episode. Obviously we saw a lot of them in the Star Beast, but to see their new flashy base, which I think we're going to see again probably quite a lot of in season 1 in the future, I think it was really cool to re-establish that when we're only 3 or 4 years from Resolution, where we had the whole Brexit joke and said that UNIT was put on review and basically shut down, and then it was just about starting to come back in flux with kind of Kate and not a lot else. And then now it's back in all its glory again. We've got Kate back again, which is fantastic. It's great to see her again in the show. We've got Shirley as another sort of main UNIT character. I always love when we have, that sort of family of characters around in Doctor Who that we kind of see pop up from time to time. And clearly I think we're going to get that with Shirley. She's been seen filming for stuff in season 2 of New Doctor Who as well, which is really exciting. So we know she's going to be in it for a while to come. And we know Kate's coming back in the next series as well. So it's just great to have that all re-established again in this story. I think. And again, just setting up that element for the future, whether it's just in the show, whether it's a spin-off, I don't know. But I think, I thought that was another great aspect of this story as well. Now, of course, the main thing we have to talk about, and let's spend the rest of the video talking about this, is the Bigeneration. Now, as I say, we've all known about it for a very long time, thought it was going to happen, and it did happen. So we have David Tennant and we have Ncuti Gatwa. We have Ncuti kind of shooting out of the side of David Tennant, and suddenly they're both there, they're both together. And I think it's brilliant to see the Doctor and Ncuti being the Doctor straight away. We don't have to spend an episode with David Tennant in a bed, we don't have to spend an episode of Peter Capaldi running around crazily not knowing what's going on. Like, it's cool that we've done that in the past. I think they're great ideas and very interesting to explore at different points, but also I don't think we need to have that every single time. And I sort of love that we have a Doctor in Ncuti coming on screen here and just kind of being immediately the Doctor. It's almost like we've picked him up halfway through his tenure, in a sense. Like, he's totally his character. He's there straight away, and almost being the consoling arm for David Tennant's Doctor as well in those sort of final scenes where, he says, I wanted to be able to save everybody and I couldn't. And that sort of pain that he feels for that, I think it's really great to see, to sort of establish your new Doctor as almost like he's the main character straight away to an extent. He's the confident Doctor ready to go off on future adventures. So the whole actually seeing Ncuti bit I think was fantastic. I think it's great that we got to see more than like 1 minute of him like we normally do with new Doctors at the end of their regeneration stories. We normally see a line or a little scene or something, but to actually have him running around for 20 minutes, hearing his theme in all its glory, him running around helping save the day, all of it in this story, I think it's fantastic. It's such a great way to introduce a new Doctor, I think. So that's the cool bit, but I think the controversial bit is clearly the fact that David Tennant is still here. Now, we saw him bigenerate, which supposedly is a Time Lord myth, and now it's become a thing in this regeneration, in that the Doctor has stayed as David Tennant, but he's also Ncuti Gatwa. So it's kind of confusing, and I don't think we fully understand exactly what this kind of means for the show yet. At least I don't feel like I fully understand it and what that means for the future. I mean, the reality of it is, on screen, it means very little for the future. David Tennant is not going to turn up in the next episode. He's not going to turn up in the next series. It's very unlikely, really, that we're going to see David Tennant again, even though he kind of still exists as the Doctor in that universe. And I guess that poses some questions like, when inevitably the Earth is under invasion in the future, surely we would expect David Tennant to be there because he's the Doctor, he's got a TARDIS, he's on Earth. Surely he should be jumping in to save the day. But then, which is entirely true. But then you can also look at it as, well, shouldn't Christopher Eccleston have travelled to that part of that period of time and saved the day then as well? Why didn't he turn up then? And why didn't Matt Smith turn up at that point? Why didn't Colin Baker turn up at that time? So it's kind of, I'm kind of working it out as we go. It feels like it's such a different idea for Doctor Who. That idea that almost the Doctor, after they regenerate, kind of doesn't actually go away and disappears, but he kind of retires. And obviously in this situation goes to stay with Donna and to be with Donna's family, but obviously still have the TARDIS, be able to fly around. All of that stuff still is kind of there. And that's kind of, I think it is a cool idea. I don't know. I've seen some people's comments and I kind of get it, that whole sort of idea of Donna's family kind of being the ultimate family to the Doctor, and it almost feeling like that Donna and Donna's family is more important than Amy and Rory, or more important than Clara, or more important than Rose, or more important than Sarah Jane. I know she's obviously referenced and it's great, but I can see why some people will be unhappy with that sort of perceived favoritism, I suppose, towards that era of the show. It was inevitable given the kind of build-up of this episode and the fact these 3 specials have been about the Doctor and Donna, so obviously it was going to go that way. Like, I think that makes a lot of sense, but I can see why fans might be disappointed about that aspect of it, alongside just the whole concept of, does this now mean that every incarnation of the Doctor has bi-generated, just we haven't seen them on screen? So I don't know quite, because obviously it doesn't retcon every single end of episode. We've watched many regenerations happen. But does it kind of mean that when Tom Baker is about to regenerate into Peter Davison, does kind of Peter Davison appear, but then Tom Baker kind of stays, but in like a parallel universe with a TARDIS? Or, like, I watched the commentary Russell did for this episode. I watched at least the bit of it where he talks about what's going on in this story and about what that means for the future and all of it. And because he said in Doctor Who magazine that I'll explain it's all in the commentary because I know it's a big change. And he kind of seemed to imply and explain that that's basically what happens, that after Matt Smith regenerates, that he wakes up in the TARDIS again, still as Matt Smith. And I'm kind of like, okay, sure, I can kind of see it, and I do kind of sense that's where the whole Tales of the TARDIS idea has come from as well. The idea of the memory TARDIS and the idea that the Doctor's kind of living on forever in that incarnation, and all of that is kind of probably come out of the idea that Russell created in this story. But it didn't actually we didn't see it happen. Like, it didn't happen. It visually, it didn't happen in that episode in the way that we saw it happen in the Giggle. Now, that doesn't mean that Bigeneration can't happen in different ways, I suppose. As I say, maybe it happens in the sense of that Doctor then is in a kind of parallel universe or something along those lines. But we know for a fact, because we've seen those episodes, that he didn't bigenerate visually on screen in those episodes. Now, all of this is kind of not splitting hairs, but ultimately all of this kind of means nothing for the future of the show. It means everything and it means nothing is kind of the way I look at it, because as much as, okay, David Tennant's around now, he's still the Doctor, he's still there, cool, he's not going to turn up in a future episode. Like, it's just not going to happen. I don't see there's any reason why that would happen down the line. It's Ncuti's show now. Ncuti is the Doctor. That's where we're going for the future. And you can kind of say the same thing about, well, obviously Matt Smith could just turn up by, flying the TARDIS to 2023 in an episode or 2024 in an Earth-based episode, and he's there. And that's kind of the same logic, whether it's before he's regenerated or whether he's bigenerated, still there, still continuing to exist, and then turning up. Like, I think so it sort of changes everything and nothing. It changes how we view the show. But Ncuti is the Doctor. I think for me, one of the most kind of confusing aspects of it is so David Tennant has regenerated into Ncuti, but he still exists as the 14th Doctor, I suppose. But then will he now regenerate into another incarnation of the Doctor at some point down the line? And will he regenerate into Ncuti, another sort of parallel universe Ncuti? Will he regenerate into a completely different person? Has he now lost the ability to regenerate because the bigeneration has only pulled it out into the new incarnation and sort of taken regeneration out of the old one? Like, I don't know, and I haven't seen any clear answer or explanation on that. And again, ultimately, it's going to be the case of it doesn't affect the show. It's not going to be addressed. It's not going to be something we're going to see, even if David Tennant does regenerate into another incarnation in the future and a sort of alternate parallel Doctor, I guess. But we're not going to see that. That's not going to actually be a part of Doctor Who. So it's all that kind of like, we can be outraged about it. I don't know exactly how I feel about it yet. I'm not 100% on board with the whole idea. I feel like it does feel a little bit celebratory towards David Tennant's era a bit too much, and yet another of, let's keep David Tennant on and going forever, just like we had the parallel universe David Tennant, and now we brought him back, and all of it. It feels like, it had to be David Tennant that happened to, rather than any other incarnation. And I know Russell's saying that kind of this happens to every incarnation, but I don't quite see the sense behind all that. I don't understand how that all practically works. And maybe Russell will come out and explain all this in the future and it'll all be much clearer, but I don't feel like I fully get it all yet. And as I say, the most confusing thing for me is just the concept of them regenerating in the future. And do we suddenly end up with kind of endless alternative Doctors? If we've bigenerated William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton, then does William Hartnell then regenerate into somebody else? And he bigenerates. Is bigeneration just a thing that happens like permanently for all Time Lords ever? Does it just happen for the Doctor? Does it just happen from this point onwards? Does it just happen in this one? Does it just happen in all the parts? There's too many things that we don't know, that haven't been explained, and I don't have any of the answers. So maybe this is a pointless video, and Russell, I just need to wait for him to answer all our questions. But I think this is the thing. It was great. The episode was really, really exciting. I think the story was really, really clever. Obviously, there's the shock twist of the bigeneration, and as much as I'm not 100% on board with all of it, it's brilliant to see Ncuti as the new Doctor. It was fantastic to see Bonnie Langford. It's fantastic to see Catherine Tate. Everybody was great in this episode. It felt, for me, comfortably the best of the three. I really, really enjoyed it, and the energy and the pace of it. It felt like the fastest story of the three as well. Like, it was absolutely racing through constantly. But I don't think we know what this all means for the future, and maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe that's what the ultimate point is here. It just gives the 14th Doctor are kind of happy. A reason why his face came back, which was just to kind of tell him he needs to retire now because you're getting your faces back because you're that done with, you're running around and stuff. And actually, you just need to settle down and chill, and maybe then you can fly off again. So, that sort of feels like the purpose of it, and I guess that's fine. I don't know. Maybe you guys need to tell me in the comments what you feel. I'm sure this is going to be outrage in half the corners and loving it in the other half. I'm somewhere in the middle, and I don't quite know how I feel about it yet. It's going to take time, but I'm sure we will learn more about it in the future. So yes, I think that sums up my thoughts for the time being. I'm sure there will be lots more to discuss, and hopefully I'll come back for some more videos in the future as well to be able to discuss more of that and what's going on. Just to mention, guys, if you've been expecting Megan Reacts, Smith Reacts, we're not doing those anymore simply because of Megan's job. It's just not something she wants to do anymore, which she's still watching it with me. She's still enjoying it, but it's not something that we're probably going to be doing anymore, I think. So yeah, just to let you know on that. I'm sorry if that's a bit disappointing, but hopefully you'll still stick around for me and my thoughts and opinions and reviews of stories and all of that stuff, which I'm hoping to do more of in the future as well. But guys, do let me know your thoughts on this controversial episode down in the comments below. I'm going to read them all. I'll like them. I'll try and reply to some of them as well. It'd be great to hear your thoughts because I think this is going to be a divisive one. And guys, of course, remember to hit the like button on this video. Remember to hit that subscribe button. If you're new here, you've just stumbled across this, I am hoping to do more videos, so please do stick around and hit that subscribe button for lots more Doctor Who content in the future. But for now, from me, it is goodbye.